Let's take this conversation further. The president's visit to Mpumalanga, that is. And now I'm joined by Dr. Nsizwazonke Yende, political analyst and lecturer at the University of Mpumalanga. Dr. Yende, very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. I want to pick up from where Veronica left off with that bite she played of the president talking about a just transition. The president reminding us all earlier that Mpumalanga is literally South Africa's powerhouse, in the sense that most of the country's electricity actually comes from there, fueled by abundant coal reserves in that province. Very significant that he speaks to why those kinds of places, a place like Mpumalanga, should not be killed by the transition to renewable energy.
Good afternoon to you, Voyo, as well as the viewers at home. I think that was a very remarkable statement from the president, and in fact, it's a truthful statement, because if you look at Mpumalanga in general, there are a lot of coal mine. It is regarded as the hub of renewable energy in South Africa. So now it was very important for the president to touch on that, and also to mention the issue that the just transition, it needs to be as just as possible, particularly for vulnerable people in the province of Mpumalanga. Looking at the fact that he also mentioned that if you look at Mpumalanga, how many people are unemployed, and young people in particular, and the level of poverty in the province. So now the just transition itself, as well as the move away from the non-renewable energy into the low carbon, as well as the renewable energy, it needs to take that into account in terms of ensuring that it does not hinder and continue to make it vulnerable to be more and more vulnerable, suffering more of poverty. So I think it was very important to begin by illustrating the significance of the sector, as well as the significance of that sector within the province of Mpumalanga.
I mean, you're right. I mean, we know the numbers. Unemployment rate in Mpumalanga is actually higher than the national average. Nearly half of all young people, they are actually unemployed. But it's one thing to talk about a just transition. It's quite another to actually prepare for it. Is there evidence on the ground that the provincial government, that your municipalities are actually preparing for the future?
I wouldn't say that there is enough in terms of preparing for the future, as well as a just transition, as well as ensuring that the majority of the people that are employed in the sector, they will continue to benefit even during the just transition process. Because remember that one of the issues that we have with the just transition is that most of the people that work in the mining sector, majority of them are particularly the black majority, black people, and most of them, especially the elders, are those that are either of low skill or of a semi-skilled. And now, if you have those people, therefore, how do we prepare those people to ensure that they will still contribute even after we have abandoned these mining sectors, as well as this energy which is regarded as contributing to environmental degradation? So now it becomes very difficult in terms of ensuring that they livelihood. And remember, these are some of the people that have been in the mining sector for 20, 40 years. And then now the just transition process, if it does not take that into account, it means that basically we prioritize the environment at the expense of the livelihood of the people, as well as the socioeconomic status. Therefore, it means that the just transition will be unjust in its nature, while at the same time, only the few that will benefit, as well as the environment, but leaving more and more people dying of hunger instead of dying of the environmental degradation. So I think it's very important that as we are speaking about having this debate and this dialogue, we therefore look in terms of how do we ensure that the low-skilled and the semi-skilled, they are not losing their livelihood. These people, because remember that most of these people are basically at the center of, they are the breadwinners in their own homes. So we need to take that into account. And these are some of the debates and the discussions that needs to be taken at the grassroots level, and people will be able to voice out their concern in terms of how are they, the government itself, as well as the local government, how, and other stakeholders as well. Because the local government alone, I don't think that is capacitated enough to deal with this issue alone. It needs different stakeholders, it needs different NGOs and different sectors in order to assist to ensure that some of these people that are low-skilled and semi-skilled, they don't lose their livelihood, because we would be saving the environment at the expense of the people.
Now, outside, of the coal and mining, Mpumalanga is also a province of natural splendor. People flock to such places as the Kruger National Park, which we are told the province does its level best to actually enhance. What else is there that you believe can actually take Mpumalanga to the future?
I think one of the important things, it's basically there if you look at the National Development Plan. I think it's chapter 6, which speaks about an integrated economic development, meaning that we do not only have to focus in one sector. There are different sectors that needs to contribute towards the economic system. Our economy in Mpumalanga, it needs to be integrated and it needs to be comprehensive, such that we don't only use the mining sector and tourism, but those can be used as a base to stimulate other economic sectors, so that we don't only rely on these two sectors. There are different things. Agriculture can also be used, as one of the major economic system in Mpumalanga, tourism and the mining sector, and other as well sectors. We need to ensure that it is integrated and comprehensive, using these that are already at the base and at the core to stimulate others and to stimulate even integrated amongst provinces, so that we'll be able not only to benefit the people in Mpumalanga, we need to be able to use our comparative advantage to ensure that we are benefiting the people in the province and outside the province. We need to be able to compete not only in South Africa, but even at a global level. We need to be able to use the inter-African continental trade to ensure that we expand our horizon in terms of agriculture, in terms of trade, in terms of any other resources that we have in Mpumalanga, using all of these things, because our economy, it needs to be comprehensive. We use what we have as a base to ensure that we stimulate what we don't have, and be able to use what we have as our comparative advantage, not only national, but also compete at an international level. I think that's one of the things that our focus in Mpumalanga should be, to ensure that our economy is integrated and comprehensive.
Of course, our conversation wouldn't be complete without talking about local government, because that's where the government actually meets the people. One of the main purposes of the president's visit there. As a matter of fact, and by the provincial government's own admission, several of the province's municipalities are dysfunctional or are simply not doing well at all.
Yeah, I think that was an evidence when you look at the national elections that we had, where the ANC nearly lost in Mpumalanga, that indeed there's something wrong with the local government, because we need to be very careful, because when we look at the national election, basically they reflect the frustration of the people at the local level with the local municipalities. If municipalities are functional, you would see a different picture even at the national level. So that's one of the issues that we have in Mpumalanga in terms of infrastructure, in terms of water. We have aging infrastructure. People, they go for days and weeks without water in Mpumalanga. We have a lot of municipalities as well in Mpumalanga that also experience load shedding. Whilst experiencing load shedding, they also experience load reduction. So these are some of the things that makes the province, to be very difficult even to contribute towards economic development, because these are some of the core that are at the center of economic development. If you don't have proper infrastructure, for instance, if you don't have roads, if you don't have water, if you don't have electricity, these are just the basic unit of economic development. So if these things are not taken care of, these are some of the things that would contribute towards the degradation of economic system within the province. So I think there's a lot also that needs to be done at a local level to ensure that services are at par, that people are hit with the services. The protests around the province, they illustrate the frustration with the low level in terms of service delivery and in terms of people accessing service delivery, because it's not only about providing the services, it's about the accessibility of these services to the majority of the people at the grassroots level.
Dr. Yende, let me thank you very much for your time and insights. Really appreciate it.